What's good, y'all? It's Solution back at it with another mental gym video in which I give you guys mental exercises you can use to become extremely successful and accomplish all the goals that you are after. So let's get right into it. So today I want to talk about comparison. And comparison is a very common thing that we guys do because we're extremely competitive and we want to accomplish a lot and we're ambitious. So naturally, we compete with other people. So the definition that I came up with for comparison in terms of helping us achieve our goals is viewing competition in a way that helps you achieve your goals, right? Because as I just said, we're guys, we're competitive, we want to be successful, so we will compare ourselves to other people. But the thing is, we need to make sure when we decide to compare ourselves to other people, if that's what we choose, it's in a way that benefits us and does not hurt us or harm us. Because most people, when I hear about it at least, when they compare themselves to other people, it causes them to feel bad. Like when they're comparing themselves to other people, they always tend to feel bad and they feel sad or depressed. And because of that, you are less likely to take action on achieving your goals or take actions or do actions that will help you achieve your goals. And that's a big thing that I'm trying to make sure you guys avoid because I want you guys to be able to achieve your goals, of course. And you can only achieve your goals if you do. So that's where I'll get into the mental exercise that you guys can use to make sure that you are using comparison in a way that actually serves you, right? So the first part that you need to make sure you think about with this or with this mental exercise is perspective, right? So perspective. Damn, Marco, what's going on? All right, perspective. Perspective. Had a brain fart right there. That was wild. Anyway, so the first part you need to go out with this is perspective. So there seems to be two ways that guys will compare themselves to their competition, quote unquote, or there's two frames of mind that guys tend to go into. So the first one is you you versus opponent. So most of the time when we compare ourselves to other people because we're competitive, we compare ourselves directly to someone else. So we don't compare it to ourselves, we compare ourselves to someone else, someone who's on the same path of a certain goal or is trying to achieve the same things as us and we know. So they're like, okay, we see this guy as an opponent and we're kind of looking at them, right? The other way that we will look at other people or is actually by not looking at other people at all. It is you versus you, right? So that is when instead of comparing yourself to other people for whatever path of goal achievement you are on, you decide to just compare yourself to yourself. And by yourself, I mean like your past self, you from yesterday, or your future self and what your future self is probably like. Like you just compare yourself to that dude because it is you, but it is not you, right? So it's like somebody you can kind of fight against to improve and achieve your goals against or like fight against to look as competition that you're gonna like gauge yourself against. So these are like the two ways that I have found that we will compare ourselves to other people. So first I want to talk about you versus opponent, right? Because this tends to be the main category that a lot of us guys just immediately fall into. We compare our achievements to the achievements of other people. And the thing with this category, people give it a really bad rap. But the thing is, they're not really thinking about it in a way that is serving them. That's why they believe you versus opponent or you comparing yourself to other people does not work well. And kind of what I'm going to do here with this mental exercise is talk about the pros and cons of doing either. So you can decide what is best for you to do and what you believe will serve you best in helping you achieve your goals. So yeah, so you versus opponent. So you versus opponent can help you out actually a lot. But I'm going to talk about first the con, or it's not really a con anymore if you think about it well. But the problem guys will run into when they compare themselves to other people is they compare themselves to other people based on achievement, based on outcome. And that's where the problem starts. Because the thing is, it is very easy to compare yourself to other people based on outcomes and achievements. Because achievements and outcomes are just out there. You can see them, you know what you have achieved, and you know what somebody else has achieved. And it's out there, it's evident, it's obvious. So you know. But the reason why this does not help you is because the outcomes are just markers of direction. Outcomes are just markers of direction. That's it. What really matters is the effort and the work that it took to get to the outcome. Because with no work, with no effort, there is no outcomes, y'all. And this is what I really want to drill into your guys' minds. So if you want to decide to go this route, it can actually help you. Understand, outcomes is not what matter. Outcomes are just markers of where you are going. Or if you've achieved this, this is the direction, right? But doing the work, putting in the inputs, putting in the effort is what gets you to where you want to go. So that means that is actually what matters. But everyone, when they're comparing themselves to other people, is ignoring the effort, is ignoring the work. And because of that, you feel fucking sad. Why would you not feel sad about your achievements if you haven't achieved anything compared to somebody else who has achieved anything? You're ignoring the work you're putting in because you could be working really hard right now, but you're not seeing the achievement or outcome, which is fine. Eventually you will, as long as you keep working hard. Because the work is what matters. And the reason why I'm saying this is the work is the only thing that increases your likelihood of achieving something. But outcomes are not guaranteed. You could be doing everything right and then an asteroid hits Earth. Boom, you don't get your outcome. Does that mean you were doing something fucking wrong? No, that just means there's some shit outside of you that exists that will affect your ability to achieve an outcome. But the thing is, your ability to put in effort, your ability to put in work, your ability to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do is in your control. So that is where your mind needs to go when it comes to comparing yourself to other people. How much effort is the people that you're comparing yourself to putting in? How much effort are those people putting in? That's what you need to think of. Who cares what they've achieved? Who cares if they've even achieved the goal that you are after? You need to figure out how hard they are working. Why? Because you can control how hard you work. And if you know how hard they are working, you can increase how hard you work. Meaning you can increase your inputs of effort higher than someone who has whatever input of effort and has achieved what you want. Because if you are able to do that, you increase the likelihood that you achieve your goal. An example of this that I've mentioned actually in another framework video that was completely different from this was Kobe. So Kobe used to go to this summer camp thing for basketball. This is like before obviously Kobe was Kobe, right? And when he was playing basketball with these guys at the summer camp, there was guys that were way better than him, right? Outcome, these guys were better than Kobe. Kobe was ass at this camp. Outcome for Kobe at the moment is he's ass. Outcome for those guys is they are good. But instead of Kobe being stupid and getting down and sad and depressed about himself because he's not as good as other people, which makes sense. Why should he be good? He hasn't trained as hard. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. The point is, yeah, he doesn't have the same outcome as them. But instead of getting depressed about the situation, he actually thought about the thing that was in his control and used the you versus opponent perspective in a way that serves him. He was like, well, these guys probably trained this amount of time or this much. And then he's like, okay, so that means, bruh, if I just make sure I train harder than these guys over a long enough period of time, I will reach the same outcome being level of skill as those guys those guys at the camp who were better than me. And so he decided that, okay, I'm going to just train more for a longer period of time. And then over time, as Kobe kept going back to the camp, he started surpassing his previous selves until the point that he was way better than these guys at the camp, like astronomically better, because the level of effort he was putting over a long period of time was way higher than these other guys. So he was able to reach an outcome that was higher than theirs. And it is from this example that it is evident that if you are able to put in more effort and more inputs over time, it doesn't matter what someone ahead of you has achieved. You will surpass them. It does not matter. Because like I told you, an outcome is just an outcome. That's it. It's the work that matters. And it's the work that maintains certain outcomes as well. So still, the work is what needs to be done. So you just need to compare yourself to other people based on effort. And if you are able to do that, you always will have the ball on your court. Why? Because you can control how hard you work. I really hope this makes sense, because this is really crucial if you decide to use this perspective. Because I know a lot of guys will use this perspective because it's motivating. I'm not going to lie. For some of you guys, it is motivating to see your competition doing well or work or getting good achievements because it makes you want to do more. But when you're going to do this, make sure you don't go looking at the outcomes route because it will put you in a position where you will get sad or you'll potentially get sad or depressed because you're like, why don't I have what they have, man? Nah, fuck this. Clearly I'm not doing something right. Like, you're just gonna do stuff that wastes time. And I don't want you guys to waste time. I want you guys to just do shit that will help you win. Because at the end of the day, isn't that all that we want to do? We just want to work hard and win. That's all that really matters. So don't waste time getting sad and depressed because your perspective on other people is wrong or fucked up. So switch it. Instead, look at other people in terms of inputs. Look at their inputs. Only compare yourself to someone else if you have an idea, a very good idea, of course, a very good idea of how hard they are working. If not, you are only going to do yourself a disservice if you compare yourself to someone else based on outcome. Because no one can control outcomes. Everyone can control actions. So focus on what actually matters. So that is pretty much the you side, the you versus opponent side of this perspective when it comes to comparison and viewing your competition. Like, people do you versus opponent. So this is where we get into the other perspective. Or let me even go quickly back to the you versus opponent thing. So yeah, so that's kind of the way you versus opponent can help you because it's very motivating to compare yourself to other people. And another thing that I also like to add is when you compare yourself to other people based on inputs, not on outcomes, because I just explained why that's important. So you versus opponent, let me even write it so you guys make sure you know. Based on inputs. This is what matters. You versus opponent based on inputs, not outcomes. Not outcomes, based on inputs. Cool. So a really good thing about this perspective too is that once you overcome the looking at people's outcomes, you look at your inputs instead, this perspective can completely serve you. Because you can look at other people's inputs and then you can make yourself want to be motivated to work hard, which helps you. And they can also, other people can break beliefs on how hard you're able to work. Because if you learn how hard somebody else is working, that breaks a belief for you. Because if you've been working, let's say, this hard, or like, let's say you've been working this hard, and then you decide to go compare yourself to somebody else, and you see they're putting in this amount of effort, you're like, oh shit. Well, if they're putting in that amount of effort, and I want that same outcome, and they have either gotten the outcome or really close to it, I should reach, in fact, not even I should reach it, because I want you guys to be fucking dogs. I want you guys to be fucking demons. You're looking at their inputs, and you're like, let me double up on their inputs. If you're at this input, they're here and they're either achieved the goal and got it. Now you can look back at yourself and be like, okay, I see you. I'm going to double up on that. I'm going to go off the screen type shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go way harder. Because if you do that, it will increase the likelihood you achieve your goals faster and sooner. The more you do, the more you can get. If you go harder, you will get more. I promise you. I promise you, bro. If you go harder, you will get more. So that's another way that when you look at the you versus opponent way, it can completely serve you. Just look at other people's inputs. And when you look at these inputs, you can also get the benefit of being motivated because, you know, you're seeing other people do well and you're like, fuck it, I want to do well too. And those other people can break beliefs on how hard you're capable of working. Because if you really see how hard somebody's working, now it's just a choice. Now you just have to choose to work double as hard as them and you will get better outcomes. Cool. So now we can transition to the other side of this perspective that I believe can also serve you. And this is kind of the perspective that I'm pretty much in right now for the goals that I want to achieve, which are mainly on YouTube. Because you guys see I post a lot on YouTube. So basically, I'm more in the you versus you kind of mindset. And the main reason why, or a lot of people talk very well about this. Like when I hear people talk about you versus you, that's usually a common thing in any of the motivation, success chasing, or whatever kind of, achievement communities, whatever. Like people tend to talk about how you versus you is the best. And the main reason why people love you versus you is because it makes you feel in control, right? But this is why I wanted to break any beliefs you had around you versus comparing yourself to other people, because you can make this in your control. You just have to change the way you were thinking about it. Instead of thinking about people's outcomes, you just have to think about their inputs. Okay, cool. So when it comes to you versus you, people love this because it puts you in control. Why? Because it takes away ignorance. Because the thing with you versus opponent or you looking at other people is you can only know so much about how hard somebody else is working. Because it's not like you can live with your ops or your opponents the whole day. Like you can't just go hang out with your opponents because you need to be working on your own shit. So you can't have a full picture. But when it comes to you versus you have a full picture of what you fucking do. And you have a full picture of what you are not doing that you should be doing to achieve your goals. You have a full picture of your fears, what you're afraid of, the hard conversations you know you need to have that you haven't been having. You know everything about you. So if you compare yourself to yourself, you're fully in control because you can take actions to make sure you get rid of shit that isn't helping you and make sure you're only doing shit that is. And this is what makes you versus you very powerful and what makes people love it. Because if you can overcome yourself, you can overcome anything. And that's why I'm kind of more in this frame. And another reason, actually, well, yeah, that's pretty much why I'm in this frame. And because initially I was mostly here in the you versus opponent because for motivational reasons I liked it a lot. And when I was able to switch my view on it, instead of just thinking of outcomes would maybe kind of feel down and I was like, fuck, I'm not as cold as I think I am or whatever, I switched it to inputs and it made all the difference for me. But I really love you versus you now because it just gives me all of my focus. And that's like another benefit of using this side of the competition or comparison perspective. Like you can just compare, you can take all your focus and attention and just put it on yourself. Because I know a lot of people say focus on yourself and it sounds really cliche now, but that shit true, bruh. If you focus on yourself, bruh, you can really unlock potential you never realized you had. Because you know everything that you lack. You know everything that is wrong with you. So if you take steps to fix it, you will be better and you will get better outcomes. But when you think about other people, you're not thinking about yourself. So you might be ignoring potential things or that attention or focus is being used on thinking about somebody else to get motivation to work hard when you could take that same attention and just put it all on you. And I think it's just mainly because I don't really have a problem with motivation necessarily. So I don't need to go look at what somebody else is doing to want to work hard or want to work even harder than I'm currently working, right? So if that is more you and your speed right now, you versus you can work really well because you can take all of your focus and attention, completely ignore your competition. Like literally, who gives a fuck about what anybody else anywhere is doing? You completely only care about what you are doing. So you can push the most levers within yourself to make sure everything within yourself is moving towards you achieving your goals instead, which works really well and can serve you very well. So if that's what you feel like you're more like, go that route. Do just you versus you. Fuck what everybody else is doing. Compare yourself to your past self, what you were like yesterday, and if you've made an improvement from the way you were yesterday, or you can compare yourself to your future self and what you think your future self is like and what your future self would do in certain situations to make sure you're on the right path. You can almost like talk to your future self and be like, okay, what should I do here in your future? Because your future self has your best interest. And this is also why you versus you is very good. Yeah, you versus you is crazy. I mean, both of them work really well, but because when you do you versus you always have your best interest in mind too. You know what your motivations are and you know what you want. So if you communicate to your future self, they can help give you advice for your current situation to make sure you are doing the things that will help you achieve your goals. Like if you have a certain scenario, you could look to your future self and be like, hey, solution from when you're 60 years old, what would you do in this situation? And then you can like think about what your 60-year-old self would think because he cares about you, because you care about your future self. He'd be like, you should do this because that will increase the likelihood you achieve your goals. And then you do that thing. And this is what makes you versus you very powerful when you compare yourself to yourself, because you will always have your self-interest and you will always know the most about yourself, right? So yeah, so pretty much even ignore what I said earlier about the pros and cons thing. Either one of these can work well for achieving your goals. There's people who have achieved extreme success and they strictly compare themselves to their ops and their competition, and it works for them. Jordan, Kobe, they were definitely big proponents of comparing themselves to their ops or their competition, and that worked well for them. But what they were paying attention to specifically was the inputs of their ops, not what their ops achieved. They cared more about the inputs of their competition, not what they achieved. And that's why this perspective served them, right? Or you can just go the you versus you route, which can also work very well. There's a lot of people who have achieved extreme success and they have openly admitted to saying, nah, it's just me versus me. I'm just competing with myself from yesterday. I'm just trying to be better than I was yesterday. I'm trying to make sure I overcome issues I have or any other problems that are limiting me from achieving my goals. And that also works very well. So whichever route you want to take or whichever perspective will work best for you, just take it, bro, because they can both work. But I wanted to make sure I got this mental exercise out, or this framework of comparison, to make sure when you guys think of comparison, you are using it in a way that helps you achieve your goals. And you could use either of these two perspectives, because these tend to be the only perspectives I know. Maybe in the future, if I find a different perspective of comparison, I'll make that video. But for now, this is what I believe. It's either you think you versus ops in your competition, or you think you versus you. But either way, these can both work. So yeah, so that's pretty much my comparison framework. I think this should be able to help you guys out a lot. But as always, please give me feedback on this. Did you like this? Does this make sense? Will you now make sure if you decide to, when you decide to compare yourself to something on whatever path of achievement of goals you're on, you use it in a way that helps you? Because really the only detriments I'm seeing when it comes to you versus competition, because that's the one people tend to have a problem with, is if you compare to people's outcomes. Just do not care about people's outcomes. Care about their inputs, because you can control how hard you work. You can control how much work you are putting in. So if you're aware of how much work somebody else is putting in, do double the amount of effort that person is doing to get a higher likelihood of achieving the outcome, and probably even beyond it, like I was explaining in the Kobe example that I given. Or you can go the you versus you route. Also, because I didn't even mention the fact with the you versus you thing. The thing with the you versus you thing is that obviously you can only compare your inputs to your own inputs, and there's not really someone who could break beliefs for how hard that you can work. But the thing is, still, you can overcome that, because with you versus you can tell yourself you can work harder. You can find, as long as you put yourself in a frame of how can I work harder. And I think I made a previous framework video on it, my effort video, if you want to check that out, where you can think through a mental exercise to make sure you're always increasing the amount of input, and you're always increasing the amount of inputs you can put in. So it's either you break the belief for yourself for how hard you can work, or somebody else will do it for you. So either way, this still works. Both perspectives can work amazing. Basically is the point. Both perspectives can work amazing. But yeah, please give me feedback on that. If you didn't like it too, you could just let me know down in the comments. Be like, nope, solution, this is stupid. Comparison is dumb. No one should compare themselves to anyone. I am a god. Whatever the fuck. Just leave it down below. Helps me be a better YouTuber, so I can better serve you guys, give you guys better frameworks that will help you out. And please like the video, boost us in the algorithm so more guys can see this. Make sure they're using comparison in a way that only serves them and does not make them sad and depressed, which will lead to them not putting in work and ultimately wasting time. Because when you put in work, you will get results. So make sure you do not waste time doing shit like being sad and depressed, because that shit does not help you. I don't care what anybody tells you. It does not fucking help you. So do not do that shit. So yeah, and I guess with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next Mental Gym video. Peace.